Well, hello. It's been a while. The first thing that you've probably noticed is the rebrand. We changed the name of the channel. I thought it was probably best if it reflected more accurately what's actually going on here and our business name. The thing with the animal sanctuary, it happened organically. As a homesteader, you do need some kind of animal for milk and eggs, and you need a dog to guard your stuff. And then I met some rescuers locally here in Biagua, and then the universe made it clear that I was not going to be allowed to retire from rescue. Now, I have a past in rescue. I worked with 501c3 rescue in the U.S. for about a decade, quite a few years. And I thought I was done with that, moved to Costa Rica. It's time for Pura Vida, but no, the universe definitely had some different ideas. So now we have dogs, and of course the 2 parrots, and we have a horse, and we have a goat, and we have some pigs. So we've added quite a few animals to this little lineup here. They're all rescues or all needed some kind of sanctuary. So I went ahead and applied for 501c3 in the U.S. I think that's going to benefit us in the long run. I know it will help the people in the States who support what we do here. I'm not going to apply for nonprofit status in Costa Rica, at least not now. An NGO in Costa Rica is the same thing or similar to a nonprofit in the U.S. And that would be needed if I were interacting directly with the public or, taking dogs off of Costa Rican streets. But that's not what we're doing here. We're helping the rescues. I'm, making myself available as a skilled foster when we have room and I have the availability. And we're also going to focus more on raising money for sterilization campaigns. There are quite a few of those running locally here in Biagua. So that's going to be our focus more than the kind of in the trenches rescue. I just can't do that anymore. I mean, I have to retire it in some capacity. Even if you're not going to leave me completely alone, I can't do that anymore. But if you've enjoyed our content in the past about homesteading and about the bus, don't worry. We're still going to be uploading that same kind of content. It's just going to contain a little more content about animals, but that's okay because animals are fun. We've struggled with gardening. Now, I didn't expect that. I thought everything grows in Costa Rica. That was my thought. So in some of our earlier videos, we were busy doing hugel cultures and making garden beds and all of that sort of thing. And at first, it looked like we were going to have pretty good success. We had seeds germinating, things were popping up, they were growing, and then they died. Now, the curcumin did really well, and so did the yucca or the cassava. It's the same thing, yucca and cassava, just what do you call it, depends on what part of the world you're in, but it's just taken over that little hillside. Beautiful plants. We've eaten some of it. It's done just really superb. But the celery that I planted, it never matured. It never got over maybe this tall, and it was in the ground for months, and it just finally just wilted over and died. I was able to get 1 cucumber vine to produce, and it produced very vigorously. It had nice leaves on it, nice blooms. It was attracting pollinators. We were getting the cucumbers. I was taking the cucumbers off the vine before they got ripe so that the vine would continue to produce. And eventually it just wore out and died, and I didn't get a cucumber since. I could not get squash to grow. I couldn't get watermelon to grow. I couldn't get zucchini to grow. The tomatoes did a really strange thing. They produced these little bitty fruits. They were about the size of cherry tomatoes, and it didn't matter if it was a Cherokee Purple or a beefsteak, hybrid, heirloom tomato. No matter what I planted, the tomatoes they would have these little fruits. So we're on a bit of a sleuthing mission to find out what is causing this, and I have some suspicions. Now see, I thought we were smart. I thought we came up to the right elevation. It's good, rich volcanic soil. I figured we could grow whatever we wanted to grow. And then when we couldn't, I had to put some thought into this. Now, here's what I've come up with. And I haven't really tested any of this yet. And I haven't done soil tests, but just based on my observations, I think the soil probably does not have as much nitrogen as you would expect it to have. Now, phosphorus, yes, probably because it's volcanic, and there's the volcanic ash that's in the soil from, many millennia. And it probably has a lot of potassium because of all the banana trees growing around here, and the bananas, and they fall and they rot. And they're so high in potassium, and put that back in the soil. But I think we're a little low on nitrogen. We may be low on calcium. The soil may not be very oxygenated. That's something that we need to look at, meaning it may be too dense and compressed. The other thing is light. We're 10 degrees from the equator here, which means we get 12 and 12. 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of dark. Now, some plants grow really well in those conditions, especially the indigenous plants and plants, that have derived from this area of the country. But some plants may need a different kind of schedule. They may need a few more hours of sunlight. So eventually we are going to build a greenhouse that I keep talking about. We haven't done it yet. We've just had so much going on. But if we do get the polycarbonate panels over an area and we can put things in a little more controlled environment, we may throw some grow lights on them. Not all day, we'll let them get some natural sun, and then in the evenings we may throw some grow lights on them to give them a few additional hours, and then we'll see what we get. So there's a lot of experimenting ahead, and I'm pretty curious to see what we come up with. Most of the flowers that I brought with me have done well. Most of the species that are native to the Central America, Costa Rican area, they've done pretty well too. I did come up with names for some of the plants that I didn't know what they were. There was one that I kept calling a dark plant with red and yellow flowers. Well, it turns out that's sunset bells. Some people call it black flamingo, but I like sunset bells because it's very apt. The colors of the flowers against those dark leaves, that's just right to me. My tabacones are doing great. There was one plant that I called a Jurassic lily because I had no idea what it was. It's actually called palm grass. My Brazilian spinach is thriving. My mango trees that I grew from seed from the little house in San Carlos, they're taller than I am. They've been out more than a year now, and they are just growing, growing, growing. Most of the things that I brought from San Carlos have done well. Sadly, the starfruit tree didn't make it. It grew for about a year. We put it out. I thought that it was going to do well there. It grew. And then I looked out one day and all the leaves had fallen off of it and it was dead. So that was pretty sad. I've acquired quite a bit of new things. One thing I'm really excited about is that we now have some shampoo ginger. Avapui, I think it's native to Hawaii, but also in Central America. This is like the shampoo lily. You can actually take the moisture from this plant, from the blooms, and make a shampoo out of it or shampoo your hair with it. And I'm excited about that. Now, I haven't set it out yet. I put it in a pot just to kind of see how it was going to do, but it's got new growth, so I'm really happy about that. I also have some spiral ginger. Now, I didn't know what it was. It was just growing wild on the side of the road, and I drove by. There's a cow mooing. You can probably hear it. It's the neighbor's cow. It was growing on the side of the road, and I stopped and got Michelle to take a photograph of it, and we put it into the Google search engine. Cow, it's going to crack me up. We put it into the Google search engine, and it's actually a very valuable plant. It's spiral ginger. So I dug up some of the root and brought it here. We've got that. Now, what I'm really excited about, I have 2 new trees. Well, I have 3, but 2 different types of trees. One of them is a breadnut tree. Now, it's not the breadfruit tree. This has a seed in it that you eat the seed too. The seeds are like chestnuts. They kind of have a similar flavor, but they're very nutritious. It's almost a superfood. Really good for you. I'm excited about that tree, but I also have a rainbow eucalyptus. I am over the moon about my rainbow eucalyptus, but then there's a story about this. I found it. I was driving down one of these little back roads. I found like an area that was just chock full of rainbow eucalyptus. They were just growing in people's yards. And there was one very near the road. So I said, I'm going to go back one day. It doesn't look like anybody lives in that house. So I'm going to go back one day and I'm going to look underneath that tree and I'm going to see if there's any seedlings or if I can maybe take a cutting. So I talked Michelle into going over there with me, and we stopped. And sure enough, I found a little seedling underneath the tree, and it's starting to rain, so it may pick up that. You'll just have to bear with it. It was outside the fence. It was a barbed wire fence. And about the time that I'm standing there looking at it, all of a sudden this lady comes out of the house, and she's wanting to know what we're doing, and she's talking in Spanish, and I didn't understand what she was saying, and she didn't understand what I was saying, and I was pointing at the tree, and I just grabbed that little seedling and ran. I just grabbed it and ran. And we got in the car, and we drove away, and as we were driving away, I looked in my mirror, and there was this white pickup truck flying up the road behind us, because there had been enough time lapse that she could have called someone. And so that pickup truck, I don't know if they thought that we were doing something bad. If they thought we were stealing something besides a eucalyptus tree seedling or whatever. But anyway, I was a little nervous, but we got out of there. But I got my rainbow eucalyptus seedling, and I am so proud of it. And every day I put it out with, let it get a little sunshine, and then at night I put it back inside so that it's protected. But I am excited to see it grow and to see what becomes of that little tree. It's really exciting for me. One thing I've been wanting to make a video about for a very long time is the Camito tea that I drink. Now, Camito is a word for star apple. And these star apples, the trees, they have really pretty leaves. They're really glossy green on one side and they're gold on the other. So some of them, in some parts of the world, they're called golden leaf trees. But they have these big purple fruit. And if you cut the fruit, inside there's a star pattern, and you take the seeds out, and a lot of people eat the fruit. I didn't really like it, but I mean, it wasn't terrible. I don't grow them for the fruit. I took some of those seeds and I planted them in these little pots, and then I had these little bitty seedlings. If you've been watching for a while, you'll remember they were little bitty, then they were a little bigger, then the leaf cutter ants ate them. And they came back. Well, now those trees, we put them in the ground, and they're the size of bushes. And I'm able to get enough leaves off of those trees to get my Camito tea fix daily. The trees they're growing very rapidly, and it doesn't matter if I go out and pull the leaves the next day, there's more leaves. So I'm very happy about that. But I want to do a video about how I make that tea and the recipe for it, because it's really good stuff. Now, if you can't grow Camito, if you're in a climate where they don't grow, I have seen Camito leaves advertised on sites like Etsy and eBay, so I think you can buy them. But there's just nothing to beat just being able to walk out in my yard and pick the leaves and make a tea. It doesn't have caffeine in it that I'm aware of or that I can tell, but it tastes a lot like tea, and I drink it unsweetened. I've tried it sweetened, I've tried it with some lemon juice, and it's good like the second day after you mix it, the sugar and the lemon juice, and let it sit. I like it unsweetened, and I can just drink it and drink it and drink it, and it satisfies thirst really well. One of my favorite drinks of all time. Another video I want to make is about turmeric. It's curcumin is what makes turmeric and curcumin are basically the same thing. Curcuma or curcumin are the plants that you grow here. That's what they call them here in Costa Rica, and I have a great stand of that growing. I think turmeric is keeping me healthier than anything else that I'm doing. And like I said, that's going to make a really good video because I can give information. It's anti-inflammatory. It's really good for the liver and helping detox liver and heal damage from maybe an enlarged liver or liver disease in general. It's good for that. It also it's not a blood thinner, okay? It doesn't thin blood, but it does have some anticoagulant properties. And for somebody like me who has a vasculitis issue and has some cardiac issues, it really helps. And I can tell a difference in how I feel when I'm consuming large amounts of turmeric, as opposed to the times when I've been too lazy to chop it up and boil it and do all of that. I can tell. So I'm a real big fan. I'm a real big proponent of curcumin and turmeric, and I've got some information hopefully to share so you can mix it up and make your own curcumin tea or curcumin latte and do that at home. Now, just a quick update on the animal situation. We have chickens, and of course Dahlia. We have silkies and we have laying hens. And a while back, one of our silky hens surprised us. She had hatched a bunch of eggs and she came walking through the yard with a bunch of babies. Well, they're all grown now. And then more recently, her sister, that chicken's sister, hatched one little baby silky, and it's doing great. So we also have the laying hens, and they are producing a lot of eggs. And then there are the pigs. They are not the big eaten pigs like the big hogs. They are the pot-belly mini pigs. I mean, they're small. They're 200, 300, maybe 400 pounds. They're not that small. I mean, I can't pick them up, but they are not the kind of pigs that are on the market to be sold as food. But this is Costa Rica, and if you advertise a pig on any of the social media, the marketplace, or whatever you advertise a pig, even if you say it's a pet and not for slaughter, they're going to have dinner with them. So in this case, the person who had them knew this and was able to make some connections through rescues and other connections, and we were able to intervene and get the pigs. So we have them, and they're good pigs. They're tame, they're pets, and here they're safe. They're not in any danger of being invited to dinner. So a while back, I talked in a video about us wanting to do a campground on the farm, and that's still in play. And some of the very first developments have started. Our friend Corky he's in the process of moving to the lot next door to us. We have 2 buses now, not just 1 bus, and we'll do a video about that as it progresses. 1 bus is his, and 1 bus is ours, and we're setting it up as like a rental, like an Airbnb rental, guest house, cabina, and gosh, we hope you come visit us because we'll have somewhere for you to stay very soon. What are you gonna do? You're like a psychopath. I'm gonna laugh and then kill you. They're sitting on the outside of my porch, and there's a screen to protect me, but it's not. I mean, they could get over it if they really tried. We still have the parrots. They are not tame anymore, though. We can't handle them. They've both reverted completely to wild. And there were some incidents that we didn't really want to happen that sort of led to that. But it's good. It's a good thing. Having them revert to wild was the point. That was the whole point. We didn't want caged birds. We wanted free flyers. And now Lolly does not. She's a little more timid. She stays very close to the house, mostly up in the avocado tree that's out behind the house. But now Esther will fly. They're mad about something. Esther will fly as far as the river, and she'll go almost all the way to the cone of the volcano, which is 2-3 kilometers away. I mean, we hear her way off. dogs. We hear her way off in the distance over there, so she flies around. Now, we do offer them supportive care. They come in every night, as you can hear. They come in and we'll give them sunflower seeds and bananas and apples and carrots and vegetables and just, whatever treats that we have. So they come in and I make sure that they eat every night and eat every morning and have access to fresh water. But we can't handle them anymore. They're not pets. And so I feel that that's mission accomplished. And I do miss Lolly, but we don't want pet parrots. We want them to be free. And if we have to offer them supportive care for the rest of their lives, so be it. We're happy with that. We're hoping to attract attention of tourists who come to Costa Rica. And the reason for this is because I get a lot of questions every year, for 2 or 3 years now. What about these street dogs? Which they aren't really street dogs, they're own dogs who are just wandering around, mostly in Miravalles. That's not true everywhere. I'm talking about our local area. Almost every dog you see has a home. They just don't stay at it. So, there needs to be some way to communicate with North Americans and Europeans who come here and wonder about all the dogs they see and wonder if anybody's working the area. Yes, there are some great rescues work in this area. And rather than us forming another rescue, what we've done is decided to just be a resource for the rescues, the Costa Rican rescues, the local native rescues that are doing such a great job. If they have a dog who needs a foster home, if they need a dog who needs to be evaluated about how they're going to do in a home, we can do that. We can also, when we have capacity, when we have availability, we can take dogs who can't be adopted. And right now we're full. We're not really able to take any more, but we have some dogs that may be going to adoption through Charlie's Angels Rescue. That's down a little bit further south of us. They have one dog here she's really ready to go. So, there will be some turnover, but it's not going to be like you see with rescues that are adopting dogs. We don't do adoptions. We don't do any of that. It's different. We have a website. There's going to be a link in the description. You can go see what that's all about. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows. Here comes my girl. That everybody knows you're still going to be getting the same content about Costa Rica and how we do things in Pura Vida land. Thank you for tuning in.